Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 237 of Rush Roundtable. This is Tour of the Deep Tracks, Part 3. So you might be wondering where Part 1 and 2 are. Well, we did those a long time ago, I think about 3 years ago, back in 2021, if I'm not mistaken, episodes 69 and 70. We did back-to-back episodes of this topic. We've got a whole new panel here, except for me. I'm doing it again. I'm hosting, but basically what this is whatever songs we deem deep cuts, like as individuals, can be on our Tour of the Deep Tracks set list. 10 songs in the first set, 12 songs in the second set, and 3 songs for an encore. Very similar to what Rush did in their later years, how they constructed set lists. But you can only use deep tracks. That's the caveat. So, and again, deep tracks, that can be disputed between Rush fans. Obviously, there's we didn't define you can use these songs. Entirely up to you. You're not going to see the Tom Sawyer's, Limelights, Xanadu's of the world on this, so you're going to see deep cuts. So without further ado, what we're going to do is we're going to read our sets from top to bottom, and then we'll do a little bit of explaining at the end of each set. So Paul's going to go first with his.
All right, so for my opener, I've got Vapor Trail, then Kid Gloves, Alien Shore, Open Secrets, Entre Nous, War Paint, After Image, Jacob's Ladder, Tears, and then the closing song for the first set is going to be Something for Nothing. Then we have our break. Second set is going to open with Lock and Key with that Last Mile intro from A Show of Hands. Then Time in Motion, The Weapon with the Count Floyd intro, of course. The Wreckers, Neurotica with a drum solo after Neurotica. Then, while Neil's getting his break, an early acoustic medley consisting of In the End, Making Memories, into Return of the Prince, third part of Necromancer. Then band comes back out for The Big Wheel, Spindrift, Emotion Detector, Heresy, and then a big closing of set 2 is going to be Everyday Glory going into Headlong Flight. Then for the encore, we bring out the Clockwork Angel String Ensemble and a grand piano. It's going to have to be a big stage. And it'll be Available Light with Jason Snyderman playing piano. Going into Second Nature, also with the piano and instead of keys, with full strings. And of course, No Shock with Me, closing with The Garden. So the idea behind this, I don't have a lot about notes or ideas as far as talking and banter and all that, but it's more a visual than anything else. So the reason I wanted to open with Vapor Trail, big strong opening song. Everybody's got a lot to do, and then the big fireball animation. A couple other highlights in there. Open Secrets, I've seen on almost everybody's list in one form or another for songs people wish they played live. War Paint is another one that gets a lot of praise from people for the live version they did on the Presto tour, so that was a given. Tears, personal preference, I don't think it gets enough love. And then Something for Nothing, closing set 1. I wanted a good big just banger to close that set. And then anyone who knows me knows how much I love Hold Your Fire, so I think that got a little bit more love than other songs on here, or other albums on here. But Lock and Key, I am still stunned that didn't even make the American version of the release of A Show of Hands at first. So, and as far as the drum solo after Neurotica, while I was putting this list together, I'm thinking, where could the solo go? And for some strange reason, that struck me as a great place to have Neil's solo. And as far as that medley goes, I've heard those songs In the End, Making Memories, and then Return of the Prince is my favorite part of Necromancer. For some reason, they just seem to come together for me. So Neil come out and do his little spoken word part before the Prince starts, Return of the Prince starts, and get back on his set, and it's kind of a good warm-up before it takes us into Big Wheel, getting the band back in together again. A given I would have used, I think Heresy is an underrated epic. Everyday Glory, Headlong Flight, good strong closer on set 2. And then my encore kind of speaks for itself between Available Light, Second Nature I think is underrated, and The Garden, nice big epic closing. I wouldn't have bothered thinking of anything else to close it. So
Good stuff.
tried to spread it amongst as many albums as possible. I'm sure someone could find some holes in that, but that being said, not going to most heavily played stuff. That's what I came up with.
Which album's got the most? Is it Hold Your Fire?
Hold Your Fire's got the most, and I think it's tied with Presto. I think has three.
Clockwork
No,
Angels has the Wreckers, Headlong Flight, The Garden.
yeah, Clockwork Angels. Yep. So Hold Your Fire and Clockwork Angels got the most love. And knowing me, I could have put more of Counterparts or more of Presto
Uh,
on here, personal preference only, but I wanted to keep it as rounded as I could. So
I love the addition of Second Nature.
Neurotica, Big Wheel, Heresy. Three Roll the Bone songs too.
yeah.
I like
Well,
Open
Power
Secrets.
Windows, the only choice I can make with Power Windows is Motion Detector because everything, in my opinion, got a lot of love live wise. So
Yep. Good list. All right, so I have no idea how this compares to my list, which I think was probably on episode 69. I probably gave mine on the first of two. But I'm gonna guess there's probably some similar songs in here. Again, this is 3 years later, and my tastes have changed quite a bit, or at least preferences or what I'm liking right this second, whatever, right? So I open with Armor and Sword, and then I go into How It Is. Of course, those two haven't changed in terms of preferences, but um, Totem, Faithless, The Larger Bowl, Double Agent, The Speed of Love, Cut to the Chase, Alien Shore, Everyday Glory. So that's set one. And then set two opens with Secret Touch, Ceiling Unlimited, Presto, Open Secrets, Grand Designs, Manhattan Project, Marathon, Middletown Dreams, Emotion Detector, Digital Man, Chemistry, and Countdown. And then for the encore, uh, Paul and I we cheated off each other. Or our moms called each other and we did this together. Second Nature, Available Light in the Garden. Just mine are just flipped. Second Nature goes first, and then Available Light in the Garden. And my thought was a grand piano as well, but maybe it would be Getty playing it. Um, so reasons. Armor and Sword, I'm envisioning the drum intro as the curtain rises, right? So like instead of the curtain rising and you see the screens or whatever, I'm thinking literally like when I saw Iron Maiden, the curtain rose and then the band came out, that type of thing. Like I'm thinking drum intro as Neil's playing as the curtains rise. Um, how it is just felt like it kind of flowed as a second song. I don't know. And then you see a lot of albums grouped together in this set. That's because, well, actually, in all the sets, in the whole set list, but set one, set two. But that's largely because on like the Clockwork Angels tour, they did a lot of Power Window songs in the first set. I saw that tour 3 times, so I'm just a little accustomed to that, I guess. There's a lot of album songs grouped together. I mean, they did the same thing with the Time Machine tour. Saw that tour twice. Of course, played moving pictures top to bottom, so you've got moving picture songs grouped together. So I guess I'm just kind of a little bit accustomed to that. And it just makes sense because, well, if they're on that album and they flow together on that album, why would they flow together live, right? So I thought Everyday Glory was a good closer for the first set. It's a great closer for Counterpart, so that's why I had that there. Uh, I could be mistaken, but I think Secret Touch opened the second set of Vapor Trails tour, or might have rotated with a song. It might have rotated.
Scenarios.
Was it Snakes and
Snake.
Arrows?
I think so.
It opened one of them. I thought it was a great opener. It might have flip-flopped with Ceiling Unlimited. I could be completely wrong, but I know they did Ceiling Unlimited a little bit on the Vapor Trails tour only, but I think that's a great second song, so I put it after Secret Touch. Uh, Jammed all the Power Window songs right in the second set, because I had to have all those and had to have a Motion Detector, never played live. Digital Man Chemistry Countdown. I thought Countdown just of all those songs that I chose for the second set, I just thought it functioned the best as a closer because what do you know? It's the closer of Signals, and it just seems like a good closing track for a set. And then same deal. I guess I just thought Second Nature was a little bit of a better opener than Available Light for the encore, and then the Garden. closing. Yeah, I defer to what Paul said. So,
Cool, cool.
Preston, what do you got?
All right. So my set got quite a bit of synth era love. So um, I opened with Grand Designs and continued with The Enemy Within and Superconductor, and then took it back to Making Memories and Lessons, and then Everyday Glory, Cold Fire, The Camera Eye, Malignant Narcissism, and closing the first set with Countdown. And opening set two is Cinderella Man, Circumstances, and then I think Neil doing like a drum solo and then seamlessly transitioning into that drum intro to Digital Man would be really cool. Um, Red Sector A, The Weapon, Driven, Earthshine, Available Light, Ghost of a Chance, and to get some epics on there, I put in The Necromancer, and then closing out the set with Mission and The Garden. And the encore starts off with Between the Wheels, Mystic Rhythms, and I put in as the final set closer, the Viator medley from Exit Stage Left. So that'd be Viator, In the End, In the Mood, and Grand Finale.
I would love that show.
Yeah, so would I.
Yep.
I thought, Grand Designs has a really cool synth intro. I thought that would open up the set well. Countdown, of course, is a great closer for signals and for a set. Cinderella Man, I don't know, that one just felt right to open with. I think it's a great song, and all the songs in here I think are underappreciated. So, like Available Light and Mission. I think if I saw Mission live, I would probably cry. So, The Garden, I think, is another great song and also would probably cry. Between the Wheels, I just love how heavy that song is. So I think it's a great encore start. Mystic Rhythms, I just love that song and the entire Power Windows album. And the Viator medley on Exit Stage Left is like one of my favorite Rush live bits ever. So I had to put it in there. That's it for me.
I excluded Between the Wheels and Mystic Rhythms because I thought they were a little bit not deep enough, I guess. So, but
I don't know. I
I'm
put the
not putting
camera
you on
eye
the
on
spot.
there,
I'm
so.
just saying, yeah,
That's why I
yeah,
skipped Marathon on mine. It definitely
yeah.
would.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
It's hard to determine what a deep cut is because none of them are really exactly popular.
Right. To us, none of them are deep cuts, but you kind of have
Yeah,
to like. I mean, you probably would hear those songs on Sirius XM's deep tracks, right? I mean, like I think I've heard Between the Wheels on that
yeah.
before, right? So it's apples to oranges, I guess. So yeah, no,
Glad to
great
see
set.
Cold Fire on there.
Yep, nice work. David, David.
Okay, set one, Half the World, Red Tide, Freeze, Alien Shore, Countdown, Second Nature, Different Strings, Heresy, Wish Them Well, then closing out set one, Before and After, going back to the first record. Set two, The Necromancer, Lessons, Emotion Detector, Cold Fire, Limbo, because you need some, you know, instrumental stuff there, right? Faithless, Red Lenses, followed by a drum solo, Available Light, Here Again, Cinderella Man, Tai Shan, and then closing out set two because Rush is funny. I think I'm going bald. And then come back for an encore, coming on strong with Lock and Key, Anagram for Mongo, and then closing the show with the Twilight Zone. So I remember several years ago, Alex talking about the idea that they had discussed doing a B-side tour. Right? Just same kind of thing we're talking about here as far as deep tracks. But I really tried to pick things that had either never been played live or just hadn't been for decades. And I thought Half the World would be a good way to kick off the show, right? That's a strong, I'm just coming out on stage and hitting that. Followed by Red Tide. Of course, Alien Shore is a personal favorite of mine. Uh, Countdown, what a great song that needs a lot more love. Different Strings is like the only song I think from Permanent Waves that they didn't play live at any point, if I'm not mistaken. And I love that song so much. Thought Heresy was a great follow up to Different Strings, you know. And then after that, All That You Can Do Is Wish Them Well. And then why not close that set by going back to the first record with Before and After? So that's why I kind of wanted to end it with that. Then how can you come on stronger for a second set than the Necromancer? I just picture what they might have done, with the video and everything else with that. Lessons, come on. Alex Lifeson wrote those lyrics. What a fun song. And the outro guitar work that Alex did is just pure raw rock and roll. It's just such good stuff. Um, uh, Moving on down, Available Light's always been a favorite. Here Again, super underrated song, bluesy, but very Zeppelin-esque. What a great song. Tai Shan, because if you're going to do deep tracks, you got to do Tai Shan. And for me, having read all of Neil's books, and that was a description of an experience he had. And I think people don't think about it in terms of that. And then again, because Rush is funny, end the show with I Think I'm Going Bald. Just that's a fun song, absolutely fun song. Come Back Strong on the encore with Lock and Key, Anagram, and then think of all they could do by ending the entire show with The Twilight Zone. So, most of my thoughts on doing this was openers, closers for each set and the encore, and some logic in between. But mostly, I thought of this in terms of I'm out in the audience. What am I going to see when they come out on stage to open a set? So there you go.
All right, I'm going to paraphrase lyrics from Red Tide, and the party is disrupted by an uninvited guest here. So let's permit our pal Alex.
Yeah.
That's your grand entrance right there. All right.
Don't worry, laughter and better lyrics will be dubbed in later.
Yeah, Alex, you'll be right after Derek. We're at Derek. We're on to the second to last, so you'll be last here, Alex. So, reading the whole set, then explaining why we chose the songs that we did is how we are approaching this. So, Derek, go ahead. You're up.
All right. Opening set 1, Take a Friend. Before and After, Making Memories. Lessons, The Camera Eye. Going Bald. Cinderella Man. Different Strings. Chemistry. And then ending it with Red Lenses. Set 2, Emotion Detector. War Paint. Half the World. Face Up. Where's My Thing? Ghost of a Chance. Time and Motion, Freeze, We Hold On, The Seeker, The Anarchist, and Red Tide. And then for the encore, I put Open Secrets, Territories, and The Twilight Zone.
Awesome.
Nice.
I really want to focus on the first couple of albums for the first few tracks, really ease people in, maybe remind some of the older folks of the earlier days. And I love Before and After. And I think Take a Friend has that fade-in intro. Neil could really do some powerful drumming to open up the set. And then having Making Memories and Lessons come back to back, sounding very similar. And then having an epic follow that, with Going Bald being the funny song to really follow an epic. And I just love Cinderella Man and Different Strings. Love to hear that live. And since there's no other version of the song out there that's not live without the fade out, I've been awesome to hear that. And then Chemistry and Red Lenses, a couple of synth era tracks, and the way Getty could do a bass solo to end the first set would be incredible. And then Emotion Detector, another synth era track, opening the second side. And then War Paint, Half the World, I think would go really well together. Face Up's a nice rocker. Where's My Thing, a great instrumental. Neil could throw in a drum solo there. And then Ghost of a Chance, great lyrics by Neil on that one. And Time and Motion, one of my favorite Tess Frecko tracks. And then Freeze and We Hold On. That song is one of the few songs that didn't get played live at all from that album. One of my favorite Rush closes. It's heavy, has a great solo, just packs a punch to close that record out. And then The Seeker, a great little feedback song they could play. Then The Anarchist, I love having two songs with the in the title, just a personal thing. And then Red Tide, more of a ballad type of song to close the set. And then for the encore, just Open Secret, it's a personal favorite of mine. Love the lyrics and the guitar work. Territories, important song. And then The Twilight Zone, like how Dave had it. They could do an extended solo bit instead of a fade out. I think the possibilities for that are just endless.
Do you cover every album?
No, I didn't do. I don't
You
think
didn't
I
do
did
Hemispheres.
Counterparts. Yeah, or Hemispheres. No, because that album doesn't really have any deep cuts. The whole album is pretty much
Seriously.
known.
Yeah.
That's why I skipped it.
Circumstances is the deep cut, but it's not really a deep cut. Yeah. I was just curious. Yeah, you just got a lot of variety. Nice work. All right. YYZ.
Well, good to be here. So for me, set one opens that whole concert with virtuality. Going into Digital Man.
Oh, Eric might leave. Sorry. Go ahead.
Grand Designs follows Digital Man. Alien Shore. Nocturne. Scars into Limbo.
Nice.
Coming out of the instrumental, they go into Kid Gloves. Play some Territories, then end that first set with Open Secrets. Set two, they come back, begin with Turn the Page, then break into Time and Motion. They play Bravado, and Getty plays a bit of an interlude that modulates them into the beginning of Double Agent. Between the Wheels, then they go into Mean Monkey Business, which will have the drum solo in it. Coming out of that, Lifeson's going to fake out the audience by playing the first 8 measures of Brunsbane, but then they make a joke out of it, and he goes over to the different guitar on the different stand and plays Hope. At that point, they play Freeze, followed by Witch Hunt, The Weapon, Enemy Within. The final song of the set, Middletown Dreams. For the encore, we're going to begin with BU2B, head into What You're Doing, and then end with 7 Cities of Gold.
Awesome.
Great coverage.
It's a great list.
It's one of those things where, I spent probably more time than I should have trying to think of it in terms of if I was in the band and playing this, thinking in we want to come in hitting hard, we want to keep it going. When is the mic break going to be? What are we going to do for the drum solos? All that. Ending the sets, originally I was thinking in terms of Mission for Open Secrets instead of Open Secrets, but I feel like Open Secrets would be the better deep cut to hit for the end of the first set. Encore, I was back and forth with a couple of them. I figured BU2B to begin it because it just hits with that low E power chord. And originally I was thinking of ending the encore with that, but Getty ending the whole concert with him singing Death isn't really as Rush related as more Slayer. So I thought, let's begin with BU2B and then kick into an old, latest album, first album, What You're Doing, great riff. I'm not as drawn to the older stuff at this point in life. I heard it enough, in high school and beyond. So, and the 7 Cities of Gold just has this vibe of we are looking, we are searching, we are reaching. There's that positivity that Rush really always had. And I did definitely want to work in the quartet of Fear, which had to be in the second set.
Nice.
Yeah, good work. So are there any songs that you think you may have missed anybody? Like after listening to others' sets, a song that, for me, a song that I wanted to include that I forgot to include that somebody included was "Wish Them Well." I thought that would have been, I think it was David. I That was one that I thought might have been good to close a set or close the whole show or right before the garden or something. But yeah, um, anybody else? Any songs they think they
Beat
might
of
have missed?
Love.
Armor and Sword for sure. I just didn't have room. I had to pick between that and Spindrift, and I'm like, the only thing that kept that one off for me is I'm not as wild about the live version on Snakes and Arrows because you can't hear Alex's harmonics, and that is everything to me with that song. So that's why I went with Spindrift. But Armor and Sword, song wise, definitely.
I think for me, Kid Gloves and Red Lenses would be great additions. I mean, honestly, the whole Grace Under Pressure album, because I think it's fantastic, but it's also hard to think of anything because I would put every song on there if I could. It's hard to limit it to 25.
Making Memories was one for me.
Okay. All right. So if you're a viewer and you enjoyed this episode and you want to take the time to do your own, please feel free to leave a comment. If you like what we're doing, please feel free to send us a tip on Ko-fi. Check out all of our sponsors. They are in the description. Right now, you can get 10% off Rush beer at Halftime Beverage. And what do we got next week, Paul? I'll let you.
Next week will be top 3 non-Neil lyrics.
So top 3 Getty or Alex lyrics. Interesting. Should be fun. After that, I think we go back into Vapor Trail's song discussions. So, yeah, leave us a comment and we'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.